guys gonna get me a beer?
Yep.
Where? Who's gonna buy it? Who's gonna buy it?
I'm gonna buy it.
You're gonna buy it.
Here we go, Spider. It's your own place for the evening.
How long is
Spider
it gonna take?
raises, I think, in anyone who meets him, the question of inherent human dignity. If one believes that life is sacred and that human life is to be valued above all else, then it's difficult to justify any system or any state of affairs that would allow a human to live and suffer in the way that Spider does each day. His situation is so deplorable that it cries out for response from the community. So listen, Spider, here's the deal though. You can't urinate on the floor, otherwise they'll kick you out. Okay?
That's okay, man. Oh.
Okay?
No,
And then-
I
and
got
there's-
that.
You see here, there's a bar by the toilet. I'm gonna put the seat up right now for you, okay? So you need to use
Yeah.
it. Woo! This is nice. Do you need to use the toilet right now?
No.
Okay. All right. So here, why don't you come out here?
And thank you. I need a couple beers.
And look at this bed.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. Can I take a picture of you?
Spider is one of the most, I think, he looks like one of the most helpless, homeless people anybody will ever see in any American city.
I feel like as a society, we're not taking care of Spider, and there's no good, he doesn't want to be in the situation that he's in, but yet no one's able to take or willing to take ownership of him. And so what's hard is that there's really no place for him to go, which is horrible.
Now, you can murder someone, and we'll incarcerate you and make sure that you have food and medical care and shelter. But if you're just someone like Spider, or the 20,000 other folks who end up homeless over the course of a year, in part because you struggle to make some of these decisions, and some of that may be based on abuse or whatever. There are 1,000 different reasons. Then, as a society, we have said, you don't deserve to have shelter.
I've been out here for 29 years. Tell me something I don't know, girl. Can they take care of me? No. I live in filth. I live in my own feces. I live in my own urine, or on my own urine. I don't care. Life is only what you make it, and I made it. I don't care what people does. That's all now.
My name is Joe Rodriguez. I'm a reporter and columnist for the San Jose Mercury News.
I'm Todd Madigan, the Director of Development and Communications at Sacred Heart Community Service.
My name is Cheryl Ho. I work at the Valley Homeless Healthcare Program, which is part of the Santa Clara Valley Health and Hospital System in San Jose, California.
So if you were to go to the corner of Market and Santa Clara in downtown San Jose on any given evening, you would see Spider laying in an alcove of an abandoned, I think it's a bank actually. Because he dismounts from his wheelchair and lays there, but continues to consume large amounts of alcohol, he has to use the facilities, but he doesn't go anywhere to use the facilities. He has a glass that he keeps, or a paper cup, and he'll, lying on his side, will urinate in this cup periodically and then just splash it wherever. And frequently it's up against one of the walls of the alcove, and it hits the wall, runs down the wall onto the cement where he's lying, and then will pool on his blanket that he's laying in or under. Around him, because he defecates on himself, if he has access to diapers, adult diapers, sometimes he'll wear those. Otherwise, he will use a plastic garbage bag that he will either just sit on or occasionally even put his legs through the handles like a diaper.
He spends most of his days sitting in his wheelchair, panhandling outside of the cathedral or somewhere in downtown San Jose.
He had very, what they call atrophied legs, so his legs look kind of like toothpicky in the sense they're not legs that are used to sort of walking and have muscles on them in that sense that most people when they walk have.
The thing I'm busy at is sitting in that thing. Because I'm going blind. And I'll tell you the truth. I'm going blind. My right eye's already going. Because of my cataract. If I get hit, I get hit. Big deal. No big thing.
He is usually pretty cantankerous, although he balances that with a sense of humor, and is someone who's clearly and admittedly in a lot of pain, both physically and emotionally.
Like, you take a look at these people going up and down the street. You say hello to them. Are they going to answer? Hell no. They believe in that money. Money is not a luxury. Money is only a necessity. They come up here from San Pedro or San Pedro Square. All they do is just sit there and look at you, and you're looking like a freak. Okay, I'm a freak. Okay, that's good enough for me. They got their noses up there in the air. I'm down here in the gutter.
Spider, a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago, became homeless. And when I've talked to him about why that was, he references an event, something that he did, and he's confided that to, I think, probably a couple of people, but something that he did that he felt was so grievous that he deserved punishment. And in the moments of clarity that he has, when you're talking to him, he really describes his current state as justified punishment for that particular act that he's committed.
I know that he has the difficult diagnosis of alcohol dependence. Addiction is characterized by loss of control over behavior, whereas dependence, they can coexist, but dependence means that there's a physical dependence in it. You may or may not. So as an example, someone who's on chronic methadone, they may have been an injection drug user in the past, but now they're dependent on methadone, but it doesn't mean they're addicted to methadone. So there is a distinction at times, but in Spider's case, I do believe that he does have an addiction to alcohol, and he's physically dependent on it as well.
So Spider is very regular with his alcohol consumption. He has 4, the larger, the 16 or 20 ounce cans of Budweiser, and he has at least that every day.
He has a history of sabotaging every attempt to help him. And yet he's not crazy. He's not one of the mentally ill.
He's actually very, if I were to describe him, very pleasant, very engaging. He's somebody who is always just trying to make a joke and try to make you laugh.
Okay. It's this one. Why did the chicken go to the other side of the road?
Why?
Because he wanted to get there. Okay. Somebody asked me one time, he says, how come you climbed that mountain? I says, because it was there. See what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And he's completely harmless. You know, when he asks for money on the streets, he's very, very polite. He's got a sparkle in his eye, you know, and a smile, even though he smells and looks like hell. I think his charm, his niceness comes out, and people are attracted to him.
I think just someone who just really, a very caring individual is kind of how I'd like to describe him.
Well, homelessness is a problem here in San Jose, and this is one of the wealthiest cities in the world. Yet we have this homeless problem. And most of the homeless here have really deep personal problems. They are either chronically mentally ill, or they're alcoholics, or drug abusers, or all of the above, which makes it really hard for them to find housing, public housing, because these days in public housing, you have to be squeaky clean, and as soon as you break the rules, they throw you out.
We're having a hard time getting the medical community or the psychiatric community. I don't even know that it's their fault, but we're having a hard time getting people to sort of wrap around and bring him the level of services that he needs.
It's been terribly difficult working with Spider, and terribly frustrating because of the lack of housing options for him. With the combination of his alcoholism, where if he goes to a board and care facility, they generally have very strict regulations regarding the consumption of alcohol, and because he needs that physically, because he's physically dependent, that doesn't work. We tried it, we got him in, he stayed for one night, and he was drinking while on the premises.
I think the difficulty in Spider's case, where he is not falling into any of those neat buckets, is because he requires such amount of care. So to be honest, he requires what I consider a skilled nursing facility level of care.
And when we look around for other options, we thought about, gosh, what if we were just to put him up in a motel? There are no rules or anything like that, just a minimum of behavioral standards, and in a hotel or a motel might work. This doesn't work because he can't control his, where he uses the restroom. He makes a mess. He smokes all the time, and that includes smoking in bed.
Now, the difficulty is, I think, again, with the whole healthcare system in the U.S., and also just the way that not only healthcare, but U.S. in general, is that we don't really have a place for people to go who are in that condition, who need that level of care. Yes, there are skilled nursing facilities out there, but they don't usually take people on that long-term of a basis. And so it is a struggle. I mean,
These places don't exist. And if they did, they'd be for shorter term. He's going to need a long time. He's going to need help detoxing from alcohol. He's going to need help with all of his basic needs. And so, to date, he's still on the street.
Do you like drinking?
Yeah. It keeps my nerves calm.
Do you ever wish you could stop?
No. Why should I stop? There's nothing to stop for.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
I said, why should I stop? There's nobody around to stop. I have nobody to share my drinks, my cigarettes, and to share my life with.
it's hard because I think with alcoholism, it's tough because there is that dependence, there is that draw that causes him to have those behaviors, to go back and seek the alcohol, and once he's intoxicated, then has behaviors that will sabotage himself. So yes, he does choose to drink, but then yes, there is a dependence. So to me, it's very messy, actually, I think.
At some level, most people decide it's probably not worth the resource allocation to continue to work with him, so long as he continues to be the primary obstacle. Hey, Spider, do you want any food? You want us to get you some mac and cheese or something?
Why don't you just go home and dry up?
I don't know if that's a yes or a no.
Take it any way you want it.
Well, I don't want to go get it if you're not going to eat it.
I got my own
You got your own? Okay. Where did you get that?
Out of the garbage.
Did you? I don't get it,
Why
Spider.
do you guys ask stupid questions?
I don't know why that's a stupid question. I thought we were talking
Let
about
me listen to my goddamn song.
How do we help people like Spider, who are not crazy, who can't be picked up and put into a mental institution against their will, and yet they're on the streets? And do we, I wanted to ask the question, do we as a society have an obligation to help people like Spider, who sometimes don't even want to help themselves? How far do we go?
Things that we realized was that every single time we brought him to the hospital, he would detox, and then he would want to leave, and he left out again. And the problem is that the way that conservatorship or that the state is, I mean, basically, or the county, or just the way the legal system is that if Spider says that he wants to do something and he's able to say why and articulate that, we can't do anything against his will.
Where do we stand, and how do we come to a decision to move forward with something like this when it would be clearly a violation of his will to have him locked up against his will, right? Because clearly he would be opposed to it. My thought is that he is already in a situation against his will. He does not want to be on the street. He does not want to have to scrounge for food. He does not want to live in his own filth. But the way that we've organized society, we see one set of circumstances that are opposed to his will as being acceptable, which is his situation right now. And we see another, putting him in a locked facility, even though he'd be healthy, well taken care of and everything, but he might say, I don't want to be here. We see that as sort of violating the sanctity of his will.
I think we have to change the law that allows public health officials to take someone off the streets against their will. We have to come up with a better definition of when is somebody a threat to himself. And I look at Spider, a chronic alcoholic, and in his physical condition, that chronic alcoholism makes him a threat to himself.
So it seems in Spider's case that we're all born with natural abilities. We have varying degrees of intelligence, varying degrees of physical agility or strength. And to design a society that rewarded the physically strong, say, above all else, and the stronger you were, the better access you would have to food, for example, to the point where those who were physically weak would not be allowed to eat. We would all balk at that. That would be ridiculous and inhumane, right? Likewise, for intelligence, most of us would believe that intelligence shouldn't be the determining factor as to whether or not you have your basic needs met. And for those who are severely mentally impaired, we make sure that those needs are provided for them in our society. I wonder, as I've worked with so many individuals that have been homeless, if there isn't maybe something similar at play with one's ability to make decisions, to exercise judgment. In our society, we don't take that into account. We assume that that is at some level equal among all people. But if it's not, and if there's any, if that is an innate characteristic especially, then is that something we really want to state is a determining factor as to whether or not someone lives a healthy life?
I think that sort of attitude that, let the chronic alcoholics and drug addicts go on with their pathetic lives with no help from us is a sad attitude. Particularly because we've eliminated all the housing for them. In the old days, we alcoholics had places to live. We adopted public policies that destroyed that housing, and we have given them no other housing option. And so I think we're obligated to help them in any way we can.
I think I would like to say that I think Spider is here and just Spider's condition is a manifestation of where we have fallen short as a country, as a society, but that in order to care for someone like Spider, that we need to all come together and to sort of put down titles, roles, positions, and just kind of come around him.
And so Spider encapsulates these huge cultural issues for us to struggle with. But I think so long as we can look him in the eye and realize that this is a human being, that there really isn't any question that we have an obligation to help him, no matter what he does. It's irrelevant because he has that right and that inherent worth. And so it's incumbent upon all of us to do that. And likewise, it's incumbent upon us not to give up. For us to give up would be, we would be guilty of a grave injustice. And so that's why we need, as a community, to continue to work with Spider and the others who are in his situation, because we become the culpable ones if we give up. Even if we don't succeed, and I don't know what success will look like with Spider, giving up is unacceptable.
Oh, there's a song out from KRTY.
Yeah?
This is only a temporary home for the time being.
Is that how you feel?
Well, because I'm not getting any younger now, don't you think? We all aren't, in fact.
That's true.
Because once you go, you're going to see him, or you could see him. But I'm not going there. I'm going up there.